next things that I want to do today is I want to put a mud flap in underneath of an Oasis. And I'm lying down here to give you an idea of where I need to put this 50-inch angle iron and then make a rubber mud flap. The issue I have is you can see the underneath, it's all been pebble dashed from the trip. I have repainted most of the frame. I haven't quite finished it, but I have all the electronics over here. And what I want to do is protect that ground strap and everything else. My plan is to maybe put a bar, where's the best angle here to show you? Is probably put the bar around about here across, but the trouble is underneath it is a V-shaped frame, and what I've got to do is try and mount probably here across. So it's going to go across to about there. It'll be anchored in 3 places and it'll be about 50 inches apart from end to end with the rubber mud flap. I'm hoping that that will stop a lot of the debris going on underneath of the trailer. It'll hit the mud flap and then just drop to the ground, is my theory. Well, let's get on with it. So this is the angle iron that I have kicking around the house. I need 50 inches, which is perfect to about here. And it also comes with these square-headed bolts and nuts. So what I will do is I'll resurplus these nuts and bolts. I have a few down here with angle brackets. I'm going to cut it off with a reciprocating saw, and then I will use this piece. It's been out forever. I'm not too worried about what color it is. And then I'm going to mount my rubber to this, and hopefully then it will stop all the debris from going on underneath of the trailer and destroying it. It's just a fix that I'm going to try. Got at least 4 of the square-headed bolts here that should hopefully hold the mud flap on. And the aim is to mount it like this. This being, sorry, it's going to be mounted like that. That being the front edge, and the angle bracket being the back edge, and then the rubber will mount to this and just hang down about maybe 12 inches less, maybe even a bit less. It won't be too far. So I changed my mind and I went for a shorter piece, as 20 inches, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it from here to the outside edge right here, and what it will look like is like that. This will then get painted black, and that will hopefully, any rocks come in this way, it'll hit here, but it'll hit here, and hopefully it'll deflect them down to the ground opposed to ricocheting up underneath. So that's sort of my end game. And that's what it will look like. Now I'm just going to screw the rest of them in. good and strong. Excellent, good and strong. What I will do is I'll put a piece in the middle, but I'm going to reduce the height because I have probably, what, 2 inches here. What I will do is reduce the mud flap 2 inches, because by the time the bracket's on and the mud flap, they should then all be equal. And it may even come just a little bit behind this one, just to stop anything going between whatever gap may be here due to wind. But these are good, pretty good solid rubber flaps. And yeah, I'm looking forward to trying them out with the rain and the debris.
So this piece will be the middle piece, and it's just a hair longer. That's good this side. You can see the metal's offside a little bit, but should be good.
Changed my mind. I could not use these tap. I didn't have the right drill bit, so I'm using, it's actually roof, steel roof screws with a washer on the end, and they're holding it in perfectly. Look at it from the behind, there's a gap, yes, but anything hitting it from the front will deflect, hopefully, and go down, and will protect all the wiring. Now, it does look a bit high right now, but if you look at the jack is really high. So if that was lowered down, that would definitely give us lower to the ground. All painted, so still a bit fresh, but it'll probably need a second coat, but it's looking pretty good. So another thing I've done, getting these chores knocked out, I added press studs here, here, and here, and these are mounted to press studs or snaps on the actual awning bracket, and that now keeps it tight against the frame. And then alongside, using our skirt that would go all the way along the trailer, we have 2 end covers now. We've always had these covers, but it's always a gamble on how we fit them depending on where we're at. Normally there's a bungee attachment somewhere at the top there. There is always a bungee attachment right here, as you can see right there, and the same on this end. Now, when we pull the awning down via the shock slide right there, they just hang down, and then in the corners you can see that blue top grabber. These can be moved up and down depending on how the angle is of the ground with the trailer. So another project gone and done. So now we have the floor, the draft skirt down here. We have our side skirts to stop the wind. And we've used these a lot over the years, so they're pretty handy things for us. I'm pretty impressed again. Sorry about this, I had an audio cable failure. What I'm doing now is I'm going to lube both hubs on Oasis, and then from there I went and did tracers as well. So these have a self-lubricating axle system. I just added the grease gun to both of the nipples, followed by a couple of pumps, and it filled the hubs up nicely. this grease does go from the front nipple there, down the shaft, through the bearings and come back out. It is not the best way. You should always repack them every year. This was just topping them up. From here you can also see the other axle, similar idea, a couple of pumps and it all gets filled up. From here I'm then going to move to the hitch. Moving over to the max coupler, there are two grease nipples, one on the hitch and one on the receiver. The hitch side has a tighter tolerance and this takes a little bit of effort to squeeze the grease in. From there, rotating the coupler, this enables you to get the grease to move around the internal surfaces. A quick top up and that is done. Installing the receiver side, the tolerances on this are a lot less. This spins quite easily. Adding a bit of grease, it comes out quite quickly. Again, spinning it around, a couple of 360s, moves that grease around, and from there the max coupler is all lubricated. This is now ready for our seasonal travel. Don't forget that you need to regularly install grease into both hitch and receiver. So I'm just going to try out this bed liner spray and see what it's going to do or help protect the underlying side of the trailer. Let's have a look. I've already shaken it all up. Oh. Okay. Problems with it coming out of the can right now. Let's have a look here. Interesting. Absolutely nothing coming out of this can other than gas. Okay. Definitely nothing coming out of this can. Interesting. So I managed to finish off all of the underneath of the trailer. This is the back end. This is wet. This is what I did today. And then, I'm not sure if we're going to see it from here. This is everything that I did up the front and the back side of the mud flaps. You may ask why I haven't done these. These are made of aluminum, so I don't need to paint these as much as I could just to make it look good, but they will just get contaminated again. They will not rot as it is all aluminum. Same with the other side over there. We did have a problem with this. I had one can that was spraying just pure gas, which I think you saw. I took it back to Home Depot. They replaced it. They actually replaced it with 2 free cans, which I was really impressed with. So to do the underside of this job cost me, what do we get in the end? 5 cans of this, total cans of usage. We just used that. I could do with more, but realistically, I'm not going to worry too much. Hopefully we're not going to be hitting too much gravel this year. But if we are, I can always replenish it with this stuff again, or look into the roll-on stuff. Underneath of the trailer is all complete. So we are going to de-winterize the big trailer tracer. I've connected my water mains, and underneath I've actually connected a garden hose, an old one, And what I do is I turn on the stopcock here, both of them, when I've got water pressure in the garden hose, and using this hose, the old antifreeze from the trailer from the previous year. What I actually do here is I use this old stuff to use as winter water in the toilet when we go camping. So when we flush, you know, your number ones and twos down, we use some of this old antifreeze because it's still got some antifreeze in it, and it stops the main black tank from freezing when we're out in the winter conditions. It's just a little tip that we use. It saves wasting water, and water will freeze below 0 degrees. So having this in there just helps it stay liquid, and then when we get home or at a sandy dump, we then dispose of it that way. So let's have a look, see what this is like. I normally run this till it gets a bit clear. This is just pushing it out of the lines. So you can start to see it's going clear now. A bit frothy. And then I change it over to the other side. Try it again. Clear already. And from there, I now go and check the taps inside. There should be just a little bit in the shower, the bathroom, and the kitchen sinks, because most of it should have been pushed through the main lines down here. That's the hot water. That's the cold water. Come inside the trailer and I turn the bypass off, and I allow the hot water tank to fill, like so. That will give us 6 gallons of fresh water in the hot water tank. It saves us having to then fill up the potable water tank or the fresh water tank on the trailer via the garden hose, and then the pump run it through to the hot water tank. So by using the house pressure, I can fill up the hot water tank ready to go, and then we can fill up the white water tank after that, or the fresh water tank, and then we've got plenty of water to go. Temperature has risen. It seems to be consistent above 4 degrees now, and 13 during the day. So that is the quick way for us, or how I de-winterize our trailer. One thing that I do is I run the taps, even though I've got rid of the pink water and it's clear, what I will do is run the taps once more in each faucet to make sure that there's no foam or pink water still in there. So my next project is installing these 2 6-volt batteries, complementing my other 2 6-volt batteries that are on the tracer at 232 ampere hour. I am going to wire them up as 2 banks of 6 volts with a jumper cable, which will be this cable, making it 12 volts. I'm going to add them to this battery bank down here, and these batteries are 242 ampere hour. This one is already wired up to be 6 volts. It used to be 12. And I have this wire here that is coming in from inside the hold of tracer. So inside of here, which I'll open up in a little while, it will then come up to here. This is going to be the 12 volt jump cable, and that is what we're going to use to make the 2 6 volts that are inside of here these two 6 volts, that'll make 12 volts. But in doing that, as I will show a picture in this corner, it will increase the voltage to 12 volts, but it'll also increase the ampere hours. So 242 and 232 will give us 474 ampere hours. That should be enough to last us about 4 days. And if we trickle charge solar into that as well, that should be good. That is the project. Standalone, we have disconnected this connection here to the positive, and we are just measuring this one battery bank. From there we have 647, and if we switch them over, the other battery has 644. So we'll join them together now and we'll see what our total is. I have the batteries in series right now, and you can see by my connections that I have got a good 12.9 volts. We won't be setting it up this way. We will be setting them both up into parallel, which will be 6 volts. And the batteries on the trailer will also be in 6 volts, and with a jumper cable between the positive and the negative of both banks, we will increase both voltages and amperages from 6 to 12 volts and 232 and 242 up to 474 ampere hours. So I have them now connected in parallel, and we have 645 on one bank. I guess it's a full bank, but just to double check, 645 going across the batteries, and 645 again. So we have good voltage now in our battery bank. So this is the box that they will be situated in. This is how it's configured right now. So we are on the negative here, going to the negative here, and right down at the back there, that's the wire that I've ran underneath of the trailer. It has come out, and I put a hole in this box, and we have the side that's going to go to the positive battery terminal, and then this is also going to go to the positive. That one there to here, that one there to here, and then that cable, the main cable going down, that extra one is actually the ground. It will also be connected right here. So the main cable that's disappearing will pop out to here, and this is going to be the other end of that connection, which will then be right there. So I've got the front bank charged up, I've got my negative on one side and my positive on the other side, and I have 6.8 volts on these two battery banks. They are now positive to positive, negative to negative, and we will connect this shortly, and then we will check to see what our voltage is here. This should be 12 volts. Chassis ground, so this one going to go to chassis ground. There we should see 12 volts. So if I just grab the cable, we're just going to touch it to confirm. Voila, 13.22 volts. So now we have two battery banks of 6 volts, creating our 12 volt battery system, but with now a total of 242 on this bank and 232 on the other bank, giving us a capacity of 474 ampere hours. So there you go, all bolted up, 13.18 volts. And if we go on the inside, we can see our battery set up here, 6 volts in series, and this cable right here. So this one is going to be our positive connection. So it's on the positive here, going to the negative of our front bank, and then we have our ground here of the trailer, and that is the battery bank complete. I just got to put the lid on it and put some anti-movement brackets in here. Finished product. The box is in, a little bit of a wooden bracket all the way around to stop it from sliding, and then with all my extra gear inside of the hold, it'll all be perfect. Now going to look at the front. Batteries are all, had to make some small cuts in the plastic housing there because of the one cable. There is the battery connection cable, and everything is secure. All the trailer connections are good, and I have got shore power connected, and I was up to 13.65 volts. I was using the jack a few times and I was down to 12.9 volts, and then it recuperated up to about 13.2. I did connect my solar panel and this guy right here, so I connected that guy, and again I was actually getting about 13.4 volts from the charge of the solar panel. Everything is working perfectly and I'm really happy. So there's the next mod done. Survive to be alive.